Giving Stanley girl some TLC.
Yeah, what happened to this, dude?
I don't want to talk about it. In Edmonton, I was backing up, and you know the parking lot where I used to work?
I do.
There's a tree behind, like, the fence. But the tree reached out over, and it was early in the morning, and I always called my mom on the way to work, and I was backing into my parking spot, and then my mom hears, fuck, because I backed into the tree. And it was just like a little bit of a tree stump, like branch nubbin, and it popped, like it hit right on the emblem.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what caused the crease to make it rust. I don't know.
Yeah, because there's a little bit of an, there's a little bit of an indent here.
Yeah, you can see the circle.
And the paint is coming off this.
But it doesn't look like the rest is spreading.
No, and it's not a bad little spot. This is actually a couple years old, like this spot.
Well, we moved home 3 years ago, and
it was before that, so 4 years maybe?
Yeah, and I don't think it's grown. It's just like where the paint creased, right? But other than that, old Stanley.
We are going to paint it, but right now I'm just going to use this. I got all the loose paint off, or as much as I could, and we're just going to use this rust check inhibitor, and we're just going to put it on fairly liberally. And this stuff will actually penetrate through the metal.
It won't hurt the paint.
Nope. And then we'll let that do its thing, penetrate through, soak in, and then I don't know, a few weeks or a couple of months or something, we'll paint it. Even if it's a few days, like to let that really kind of penetrate in. I think the longer you leave it, the better. But essentially, you just don't want to paint over it right away because the paint won't stick to the metal. The stuff is pretty greasy, but now hopefully that'll protect it at least. And then we'll come back after a while, and once this is, you know, soaked in for a while, and we'll come back and prime it and paint it.
Kudos to the Jeep though for it being 7 years old now.
Yeah, it's a 2016.
Yeah,
and this is 2023.
Only rust spot.
What's interesting about this is you just want to make sure you get where all those little bubbles are. And I just see a couple of spots that I might have missed. It's actually got, so this Jeep, what is this? A Jeep Cherokee North. It has really good metal on the back here. So it probably wouldn't be an issue. You could probably go, like the Jeep will probably die before this ends up becoming an issue, once the spiders get there first. And like the issue with this, like we can bump this out, pull it out, but you run the risk of it like kind of spidering the paint, and where the paint isn't affected down here, I don't know if I really want to play with it because it's actually difficult to notice unless you're really looking for it. And this Jeep has over 223,000 kilometers, I think. So we're not, you know, super concerned about everything has to be perfect.
No.
We just want to protect it so that it doesn't become an issue. I don't think it would, but it'll look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, be a little bit better for the metal. So we'll let that soak in, and then we'll come back and prime and paint it. We already have the paint. We got it matched from the dealership. So right now, the doors, all the doors are very squeaky. So we're just going to grease up the door hinges and stuff. So
don't judge how dirty the Jeep is.
yeah, we do have a dog. So we're going to use a mixture of WD-40 and grease. It's just stuff that I have on hand. People will tell you all sorts of tips and tricks, but as long as there's no noise and everything's lubricated properly, I don't think it matters that much. So I'm not going to get into how to do it because I'm definitely not the best person to be telling you that, but what I'm going to do is probably spray some WD-40 in all of the spots that twist near the door. So any like pivot points down here, and then in here, in there, and then I'll probably take grease and put grease all along here. You can tell that that's totally dry. It's looks like something's on my finger, but it's very dry. So we'll throw some grease all along here and we'll WD-40 everywhere else. But like I said, I'm not the person to be really like explaining how to do this stuff. I'm just telling you what I'm gonna do. But if you have any tips or tricks, feel free to put it in the comments so that people can learn and grow. Not everybody's done this before and that kind of stuff. So if you want to help other people out, feel free to put in the comments what you do and choose what you like. But it's a lot easier to do this than to get somebody else to do it, and this is just what I have on hand. So every door is a little bit different, but just go, like I said, basically anywhere where the door pivots, and you're going to take WD-40 and spray it pretty liberally. You get some down here. We'll go in here, and there's pivot points like on the bottom and on the top, so you can just open and close the door and see where it pivots. But anywhere where there's any amount of friction, WD-40 is like a really good general use lubricant, so you don't have to be scared of using too much or getting on things or anything like that.
Sounds like a sick duck.
Yeah, and you can, I mean, if you really want, you can, you know, you can take a rag and wipe off all the excess if you want, especially if your car is nicer than what ours is in right now as far as cleanliness. But
What do you mean? We have a dog. We live on a dirt road
exactly.
in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, so basically we're going to take a big glob of this and we'll lube this up because this slides in and out, or I should say it slides on this. So get it covered in grease. Once you do that, all you're going to do now is kind of work it in there.
Ooh!
And the more you work it in, the more the grease kind of activates and gets to all the little nooks and crannies. But you can tell that it's a lot less squeaky than what it was. Because before I showed you, I think that it was a little
Creaky.
creaky. So they're all very similar. So that's what I do.